Hi friends! So today we are going to be doing Unit 6, Lesson 1. If you have your workbook, that's awesome. If you don't have your workbook, go ahead and see if you can get that out because we are going to be using a couple different pages in today's lesson. So take a pause right here if you need to so you can get your materials out and ready. Alright, so our learning targets for today. We are going to be able to identify 3 different spellings for the S sound. We've talked about that sound before. We are also going to describe the elements of a personal narrative. Wonder what that is. So the very first thing we're going to be doing is we're going to go over our spelling words for this week. So, no, we will not have a test at the end of each week, but I still want you to make sure that you are studying and practicing these words so that you can remember all of those spelling rules that we've been learning. It's very important. So here's our list of words. I want you to take a look at our words, and I want you to see if you can figure out what our spelling rule might be for our spelling words this week. I notice in each of these words, I see a double letter spelling. Do you see that? In each of these words, we have the double letter spelling. So if you remember back to Unit 5 when we talked about double letter spellings, we learned that if we have a consonant, like the letter M, or T, or D, or P, or most other consonants, if we double that letter, it usually will make the same sound. So for the sound, 2 M's will make the sound. Same thing for T and D and P. When we double that spelling, it continues to make the same sound. So let's go over our words. We have swimming, rotten, batter, hidden, shredded, knotted, and popping. Those all have the double letter spellings, and you can pause if you need to look and see each double letter spelling in the word. Most of them, actually all of them, have that double letter spelling right in the middle of the word. Our tricky word for this week is there. This there is spelled E-I-R. So remember, that means belonging to someone or something. If I said, I like their shoes, whose shoes am I talking about? That's right, their shoes. So this word there means belonging to someone or something. So if you open up to activity page 1.3, this is going to have all your spelling words on it. So you can use this throughout the week whenever you're practicing those spelling words. So keep it in a safe place. All right, so next up on the list, we're going to be reviewing some of our sounds. So the sound that we are going to be reviewing is the S sound. Can you say that sound a couple of times? S, S. Very good. So the S sound, remember, this is a consonant sound because when we say it, S, the air is, that's right, the air is trapped. So that means this is a consonant sound. So the way this is spelled is with the letter S, as in sun. Can you say sun? Very good. So I hear the S sound in sun, and we spell it with the letter S. We also have learned that we can spell the S sound a different way. We can spell it with 2 S's. Just like we talked about with our spelling words, when we have a double consonant, a double letter spelling, it's going to make the same sound. So dress, can you say dress? We hear the S sound at the end of the word, but we have 2 S's instead of 1. It's the same sound, we just use a different spelling. Now, this is very important. Remember that this double letter spelling is usually never going to be at the beginning of a word. We're usually going to see this spelling in the middle or the end of a word. Okay, so we have learned that we can spell the S sound using one S, as in sit or sun. We can also spell it using two S's, as in dress or kiss. So I want you to take a look at the power bars. Remember, the power bars are right here in the middle. What do you notice about the power bar for the single S? Is it a big power bar or a small power bar? That's right, it's pretty big. So, do you remember what a big power bar means for the spelling single S? That's right. So, when you have a large power bar, that means that more words are going to be spelled with the single S for the S sound. Now, if we look at the double S, is that a big power bar or a small power bar? Yeah, this one's kind of tiny. So that tells us that this double S spelling is going to be less common than the single S spelling. We're not going to see this one as much whenever we have the S sound. Now we're going to go ahead and add another spelling that we have not talked about yet. So if we look at this spelling card right here, what letter do you see? That's right, the letter C. So usually when you see the letter C, you think K as in cat. Well, this letter C can also make the S sound. Did you know that? Scent, sell, and pencil all have the S sound, and they're spelled with the letter C. Can you say those words? Scent, sell, pencil. Just like we have different colors on the same flower, there's also different spellings for the same sound. So today we learned that the S sound can be spelled 3 ways. Single S, double S, and C all make the S sound. If we look at the power bar for the C spelling, what do you notice about the power bar here? Is it big or is it small? That's right, this is a tiny power bar. Compared to the double S, it's even smaller. So what does that tell you about the C spelling for the S sound? That tells us that this spelling is not going to be seen as often as these spellings. We're not going to see the S sound spelled with a C very much. Okay, now we're going to talk really quickly about something called a personal narrative. Can you say personal narrative? So a personal narrative is different from a fictional story. Remember, that means made up, because it's not made up. So personal narratives are true stories. They actually happen. But they do have the same parts of a regular fictional story. So the difference is that personal narratives are true stories. Fictional stories are made up stories, but they do have the same parts. So let's go over those parts. We have a title, a setting, characters, a narrator, remember that's who is telling the story, and a plot. That's what's happening in your story. These are all parts of a personal narrative. Also, remember that good stories answer the 5 W questions: who, what, where, when, and why. Who? This question asks about the characters in the story. Who is in the story? What? This question is about the plot of the story, the beginning, middle, and end. What's happening in the story? Where, this question asks about where the story takes place, the setting. When, this question asks about the time of the story, which can also be part of the setting. Morning, winter, last year. When did the story take place? And why? This question gives the reason for the character's actions. Why did the character do whatever they did? So we're going to use the 5 W's in a little bit to answer some questions about a story. So I want you to open up to activity 1.1. You can pause if you need to get there. This is going to be a personal narrative that we've actually already read about in our last unit. So we've seen this story before. What I want you to do is your activity page 1.1 should look like this. You can either read this to yourself, or you can have an older brother or sister, mom or dad, whoever's at home helping. They can read it to you, or you can take turns reading. I want you to read it at least 2 times. When you're done reading, you can go to the next page, and I'll tell you what you're going to do. So on activity page 1.2, after you have read In the Cave 2 times, you are going to use all the information that you heard in that story, and you're going to fill out your story map. So we have done this kind of map a couple times before. Using the 5 W's, we are going to answer some questions about the story. The title, the who, the where, the when, and the what. Remember, that's your plot. So your beginning, your middle, and your end. You're just going to practice filling in this story map with the story that you just read. So once you're done with this, you can go ahead and click play. All right, so we are done with today's lesson. So let's go over our targets really quickly to make sure that we learned exactly what we were supposed to. So first, I can identify 3 different spellings for the S sound. I'm pretty sure we talked about 3 different spellings. Can you remember those 3 spellings for the S sound? Good, we talked about single S as in sun, double S as in dress, and the letter C as in scent. All 3 of those spellings make the S sound. We also described the elements of a personal narrative. You read the story In the Cave, which was a personal narrative, and then we filled out our story map, which had all those different parts, the characters, the setting, the title, the plot, all of those different things to describe a personal narrative. So last but not least, before you close out of this video, remember that you need to complete Lesson 1 exit ticket. So you'll go back on Google Classroom and make sure that you complete that question so you can get credit for today's lesson. All right, I will see you next time. Bye-bye.